coming soon to own on video and DVD.
No, Dewey, you don't want this. Get out of here.
There's no earthly way of knowing.
Dude, what does mine say? Sweet!
Hey, my brother, can I buy a copy of your Hey Soul Classics?
You see things, and you understand.
You're a neo-maxi zoom dweeby.
It's not habit forming.
I am not addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to glamour.
You thought you only murdered boys. I go both ways. No, it's Morgan Freeman. Do you have any bones that need collecting?
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
You don't want it.
I think I kind of want it.
Okay, but just this once. Come on in.
Okay. Action.
Yo, yo, yiggity, yo.
No, it was great. Can I do it once as well? You could do it at the same time.
Yo, yo.
Yiggity.
Yo.
All right. If you hear that sound, that means it's time for VHS.
VHS is a movie podcast. That stands for
Very
honest
screening.
Yes, indeed. VHS, very honest screening movie podcast. What up, Brie?
Hi. Is it okay if I have a beer during this? I want to,
Yeah.
Okay.
You can.
Thank you.
You already had one open. What do you mean?
I didn't want to be rude. That's why you ask first.
No, yeah. It's very polite of you to ask permission.
Thanks. Hi, everybody.
Dang.
So, my name is Brie. This is my friend Allie. I hope that she considers me her friend as well.
That's true. I do.
And we like movies. We were we love them. We were like, wouldn't it be cool if we started a podcast, something no one else has ever thought of before? So in that way, we're innovators.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's what you can expect from this podcast, okay? We're going to watch movies. That's a guarantee. We're going to talk about them. I promise. And so thanks so much for listening to this podcast.
Learn some trivia along the way. And that's it. That's the end.
That's it.
No, but I mean, the reason why we decided to do this is because I don't think we've ever hung out without watching movies. I mean, probably. Like, it's happened once, maybe. But from the start of our friendship.
Have we ever just gone to Taco Bell?
I've been to Taco Bell with you before, but, like, I bet we got Taco Bell and then we went somewhere and watched a movie.
Yeah, okay. That checks.
I want to say, so this first episode, we picked horror movies, and as I was, like, thinking about the movies and writing stuff down, I realized, like, you introduced me to horror films, technically. I thought that I hated scary movies. Well, I thought that I hated scary movies because, my parents didn't let me celebrate Halloween, and they hate horror movies, and I just, like, assumed that I also hated horror movies. And you would be, we'd be trying to pick something to watch, and you were like, man, like, I love horror movies so much, and none of my friends, like, ever want to watch them. And it bums me out, because a lot of my favorite movies are horror movies. And I was like, Brie, I will dip my toe in the water. I will give it a try. And we watched Psycho, and then we watched Scream. And those were my first horror movies.
See, now I'm so glad that you can tell me these stories because I don't remember yesterday. So
right.
I'm glad that those are the movies I picked to show you first. Good on me. What a sweet sentimental memory.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Indeed. So on this podcast, every episode we are going to be talking about two different movies. Maybe those movies will connect in some way. Maybe they will be movies that a friend of ours have picked out for us. But either way, any which way, every episode we will be talking about two movies. And for this first episode, those movies are Scream and From Dusk Till Dawn. Both 1996 horror films.
Both produced?
No, both produced by
Dimension Films. Did you catch that when you watched them?
I didn't.
Yes, that's the little logo. Yeah.
Yeah, Scream was an easy pick for us because, like I said, the introduction to horror for me. We watched Psycho and we watched Scream. And after Brie introduced me to Scream, I became obsessed with it. Pretty much. I don't know. I feel like your love of the Scream movies just like bled into my love for the Scream movies. But that is a movie Brie and I have both seen countless amounts of times, I'm assuming, and can talk about for hours. So that was an easy pick. From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996 horror. I had never seen it before.
And I had.
It was a good time.
And all week I've been calling it From Dunst Till Dern, but neither of those actresses will be in this film, unfortunately.
Every single time I talked about like what movie I was supposed to be watching, I was like, it's either From Dawn Till Dusk or From Dusk Till Dawn. It's one of the two.
Yeah. Scream is my favorite horror movie, and I make everybody watch it. Anytime I find out someone hasn't seen it, I take it very personally. Because I do think that it's like, we'll get into this later, because it's, to say that it's perfect, I know that people will fight me on this, but it really does feel that way. Like, it's like the exact kind of movie you want to watch with people. It's the kind of movie that, even if you don't like scary movies, it's just so fun. The actors are all great.
That's the appeal that I've really clung on to. Like, that's how you got me to watch it, right? I had no experience in horror, and you were like, it's not that scary. It'll be a good first horror movie.
Yes.
Yeah. This was 2015, by the way. I tried to figure it out. I'm not like 1,000% sure, but 2015 is when I would have watched Scream for the first time.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Come on, history.
Yes. One time Brie and I hosted a Scream movie marathon in my backyard, my childhood home, my house. Set up a projector, hung up a sheet on a shed, threw out some blankets, got snacks, got like Scream themed decorations, I think. At least we had like a mask and a knife. I don't know. We didn't go with that all out. And we tried to watch all 4 Scream movies, but if I recall, there were only like 3 of us by the end, and definitely everyone fell asleep.
There was a balloon too, I think. Didn't you get a ghost face balloon? Mm-hmm.
We also happened to be at a horror convention for the 20th anniversary of Scream.
Facts.
Some of the original cast was there. We saw them in the flesh. Technically talked to them, but
doesn't count.
Not really. Kinda. It's fine.
If you've ever talked to a famous person, it's like you're so excited to meet them, and their whole like body language is like, please don't meet me.
Yeah.
Like, that's very kind, but please. So.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is fair. But yeah, we've seen this movie outdoors on multiple occasions.
Yes, and when we saw it at the convention, you better believe people in the audience were saying the quotes in real time.
Yeah, that was fun. I did love like the community feel of everybody's like appreciation for it.
Yeah. So we love Scream, but actually we've never talked about From Dusk Till Dawn. So, we watched it and then we didn't get a chance to discuss. So this will be an organic discourse. Yeah. I'm very excited to see what you have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we decide which movie to start with? I don't even know. I feel like I'm gonna let you pick. Dealer's choice.
I want to start with Scream.
Good. Okay, let's start with Scream.
One time I was in like a Roman literature classics class. I don't even know. I was taking a class in college, and somebody like asked what meta meant, or we were reading a very like meta story, and my professor used Scream as an example to explain, and just like went into the whole like talking about a horror movie during a horror movie, or like talking about the horror movie rules in a horror movie, and I was so pumped that he used it as an example.
Now, do we know?
But I don't know.
Do we know if this is the first horror movie to do that, or not the first horror movie, the first movie to do the like how to survive a horror movie thing? Did Scream start it? Or was that already?
I mean, I think so.
I think so too. That's what I'm gonna say from now on. So.
I mean, I feel like I would have stumbled across some other like movie that it's connected to if it wasn't the first. Like, I feel like that was the big plug behind writing it. Was like, no other horror movies are doing this. We want it to feel like Halloween. We want it to feel like Friday the 13th, but we want the characters to be aware that movies like Halloween and Friday the 13th exist. so that they can like outsmart, like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Do we think this is a parody or a satire film?
I've heard it called like a satirical slasher. I don't know. I feel like it's debatable. People debate whether or not it's a comedy, which is silly. Like it's a dark comedy. But because people think it's genuinely scary. It's a horror film, but I don't know. Satirical slasher comedy. That's what I would call it.
I think both From Dusk Till Dawn and Scream have comedy elements for sure.
Yeah.
Despite the horror. But yeah, the reason why I'm wondering if this is really a parody is because I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you've probably seen Scream, but if not, I just don't even know what to do about you. There's many moments in the plot that are just so goofy that if it's a serious movie, that doesn't make any sense. But if it's like a parody of the horror genre, then it's very clever and funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to call it
I don't know. I think sometimes when I'm watching Scream, like, okay, so Scary Movie parodies Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I'm sure references plenty of other horror films, but like primarily Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And so like Scary Movie does such a good job of replicating shots from those movies that sometimes when I'm watching Scream, I think of the like parallel Scary Movie scene, which just like makes it even easier to perceive as a comedy. I don't know.
Absolutely. Because the lines themselves are so goofy. Like, of course, when Billy's like, but it's all just a movie. And Nev Campbell, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not explaining it well at all because I don't know the quote. Nev Campbell
You're
says...
all good. Let's go.
Okay.
Wait.
You go.
I was like, let's get into it. Let's talk about, like, opening scene, Drew Barrymore, actress who is only in the movie for, God, I don't know, 9 minutes. I don't know how long the opening scene is, but...
we get a little ring-a-ling. This movie sets the tone right away, and one of the things I like about it is how quick every scene is. It's exactly as long as it needs to be, from my perspective. And so I feel like I love the opening credits, or like the opening like Dimension Films logo, and then the sound of the phone ringing, and then it's like a slice sound almost. There's some really fun sound design in this movie. But we start literally with the phone call, and we see Drew Barrymore in this very tragic wig, but it's okay because it's iconic. She answers the phone, and she's like, you know, we hear this like Ghostface Killer on the line.
Not the rapper.
The rapper Ghostface Killer is on the line, and Drew Barrymore's like, I want to hear that Wu-Tang joint, and he's like, oh shit, turn it up. Cash rules everything around me. Creep. It's a crazy movie. And then let me tell you something about the voice on the phone before we get any further. This is one of my favorite trivia things about Scream, and I think I know it because of you, Allie. I don't know if that's true, but you always look up trivia shit, and I can't be bothered, so you're always
addicted to IMDb trivia. 90% of the, I would say 90% of the trivia that I will spout out is probably stuff that I just, like, read from the trivia section of IMDb.
Yeah, this guy who does the voice of Ghostface is amazing, by the way. Like, perfect, iconic, the voice. It's equal parts, like, scary and menacing, and also somehow it's, like, smooth, you know? Like, for a minute there, Drew Barrymore's almost flirting with this guy on the other end of the phone.
No, definitely. I mean, she doesn't, he, like, asks about her boyfriend, or, you know, something is asked about the boyfriend, she says she doesn't have one, and then later changes her story to, like, my boyfriend's gonna be here any minute, he's a football player.
Yeah,
like, yeah, she's definitely openly, like, open to flirting with him at the beginning, at least.
Just a great voice, and the guy who does this voice didn't meet the cast at all, I don't think, for the whole, like, all 4 movies. Like, they didn't meet till the very end. And I know some of you, if you're big Scream fans like I am, you might know about 5 Cream. That's supposed to be Scream number 5.
5 Cream?
I don't know if that's still going to be released due to COVID and everything, but I'll watch it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But,
I'm ready.
Yeah, they didn't want to meet each other because they wanted to make it even scarier, and I love it. Okay, but anyway.
In that opening scene with Drew Barrymore, the phone she was using was actually connected. So there's a point where she, like, dialed 911 and was just, like, screaming into it. Because in the actual scene, she doesn't, like, call 911 and say, like, hey, my name's Casey, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't get that far. I think she just calls 911 and, like, makes noises on the other end. I don't know. But I guess Drew Barrymore actually dialed 911. And the operator was really confused, and they had to, like, call and explain. She thought the phone was disconnected. It's the whole thing.
One time I called 911 on a phone that doesn't have service. Like, it was just a phone I had around my house, but it had games on it, so it worked. You know what I'm saying? So I called 911 as a bit, but I didn't know that you can still call 911 on a phone if it doesn't have service. Don't quote me on that, but it worked when I called. Yeah. And I threw it against the wall and it broke. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Because sometimes they come anyway. And I'm from a really small town. Cops are bored. I'm not trying to have that.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, so back to Drew.
Yes.
So she's making her Jiffy Whiffy pop. She gonna watch a scary movie, y'all. And there's so much to say about this scene. It's iconic, first of all. It's such a great way to start this movie. It's also ridiculous. And if you ever watch this movie with someone who's like a nitpicking asshole, this is gonna be the scene they nitpick the most. And I think that it's written this way on purpose, which is why I call this movie probably an intentional parody of the horror genre. Because she does basically everything you're not supposed to do, to the point that you're like, let the bitch die. Like, really? It's insane. I mean, okay.
I don't know if I've ever felt as strongly as, like, let the bitch die. But I definitely get really frustrated when he is like, don't call the cops. They won't come fast enough. And she just listens to him. After, like, hanging up several times. Every time she hangs up, I'm like, okay, now call 911. And she never does, just because once he was like, they won't make it in time. And she was like, okay, I'll trust you.
Right. Okay, well, I don't actually want her to die. In fact, every time I watch this movie, knowing full well what's going to happen, I'm still rooting for her. I'm like, come on, Drew. No, like, just, you got that. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Also, the thing you said about calling 911, she's holding the phone the entire scene. Until she dies, she has clinched that phone. She could have called 911.
Yep. Yep. At any point.
So there's that. What else?
I think you were the first to point out to me that the popcorn gets worse and it, like, escalates as the scene escalates. Like, it starts burning more, or, like, there's more smoke in the kitchen and stuff, which, of course, is, again, parodied perfectly in Scary Movie, because the popcorn ball just gets insane.
The giant, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's some great visual storytelling, and also some great use of, like, diegetic and non-diegetic sounds, because there's a lot of, like, slasher movie music happening here, and it's a beautiful score, but it's also, like, the sound of the popcorn getting hotter in the stove, and then it's a fire, and then, like, Drew Barrymore
fire alarm or, like, smoke detector goes off or something. Yeah.
And there's another really good scene that uses that later in the movie, not Jiffy Pop, but, like, the use of the soundtrack and also a sound that's happening in the moment when they're playing the movie Halloween at the party scene, and the score of Halloween is happening while the movie's happening, and it's almost as if Jamie Lee Curtis's cries and, like, the sound of Michael Myers attacking her are happening in the house in Scream.
Yeah.
It's just so well done. I love this movie so much. Anyway.
Well, and all of the cuts from, like, all of the dialogue or scenes that they show from that movie, too, like, whatever they cut back to, it relates. It's,
Yeah. Here comes the obligatory tit shot, and then it cuts to Neve Campbell taking her shirt off.
Sydney, yeah.
Yeah.
As we've already said that we're gonna be, you know, there's gonna be spoilers. If you don't want this spoiled, watch the movie before you listen. My favorite thing that you pointed out to me from the beginning scene with Drew Barrymore is so the Ghostface killer's on the phone with her and says, like, which door am I at? And it's a trick question.
I have much to say about this upon rewatching, actually. Thank you for bringing it up. So, can you further elaborate on that for people who might not know what you're saying? And then I will.
Okay. So, spoiler of spoilers, at the end of the movie, we find out that there are two killers. So, during the scene in the beginning, when the Ghostface killer is talking to Casey, Drew Barrymore's character, and says, like, hey, if you can tell me which door I'm at, like, or, you know, like, let's play a game, like, which door am I at? I don't know. It doesn't, I guess the theory was, like, it doesn't matter which door she says, because she would be wrong, or both would be, because there are two killers. So there was more than one answer. Like, no matter how she answered, she was going to be wrong.
Yes. So, far be it from me to question the logic down to a T of this movie. Because that's really not what this is about. This is just a feel-good, fun horror movie that's, like, clever when it needs to be. But here's how I feel about that. I love that moment when you know the twist, because obviously, like, she's fucked either way. However, that would imply that both of the killers were there at the same time, which would make sense because this is their first kill, plausibly, in this universe.
And to, like, hoist her up on the tree and, like, all that shit. Like, the way that Casey is killed, you'd think that they would need two people.
Right. But then the next day at school, both Tatum and Sydney mentioned that their boyfriends were there with them the night of the murder. Now, we know that Billy came, like, later, because he's, like, you know, he just appears at her bedroom window. He's clearly been somewhere else. But Tatum's like, he was with me all night. I'm going to have to assume that Tatum's lying, or she means that he got there at, like, midnight. Because earlier she says, don't worry, or later she says, don't worry, Casey didn't bite it till way after 10. So the killers have had to come at least after 10 p.m. and then deal with that. And then she lives out in the country, so far away that the police wouldn't make it in time. So both of them then had to travel back into Woodsboro to be with their girlfriends before 1 a.m. at least, or else maybe one of their girlfriends would be like, I don't know. I'm thinking too much about it, but...
Well, no, and I think that one of the fun things about the Scream movie is after you get the reveal of who the killer is, kind of, like, watching it again and trying to figure out, like, oh, like, this person's gone from this scene because they were at this location, or, like, ooh, which person was in the costume that time? Oh, it was this person, you know. But if you try to logic it to death, there's gonna be holes. I mean, there are scenes in this movie where Ghostface is just, like, in the bushes in broad daylight. Like, they just cut to him.
I have a lot to say about that.
It's so unnecessary. Yes. And, like, why would he, like, which person is it? Why are they there?
I have a lot to say about that later. You wait. But I want to say a couple more quick things about the beginning scene. We're only in the first scene. But it's important. I want to say, though, that it does still technically make sense that they're in high school, so maybe their boyfriends did just come over later, because they would have to come over after their parents are asleep to, like, sneak into their house. So it does make sense. That's just, it gave me pause, is all. That's why I'm bringing it up.
It's fair.
Who do you think delivered the fatal blow to Casey? Because I think I know who it is. It also doesn't matter, but I'm just curious if you... Because she pulls off the mask, and she has, like, a brief moment of, like, recognition before she dies.
Okay. I've never thought about it too hard. You want to tell me, like, your theory, though?
I do. I think that it was Stu, played by Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard?
Because they dated, and then she dumped him, which we learned later at the fountain from Tatum. So I think that he probably would have wanted to be the one to do it.
Right.
Although... the way that she dies is the most graphic kill in the entire movie. It's extremely graphic, and the discovery of her body is extremely graphic, and that's a lot more of a Billy thing, I think, than a Stu thing.
I think that it being more graphic is just more evidence that it's Stu, because Billy has a motive, and Stu doesn't. Technically, like, in all technicality, you know? And so I feel like somebody who's going to go along with this killing who doesn't have, like, a clear motive is probably someone who's going to be more able to do the, like, gruesome kill, like, because there's already something a little off there if there's, like, not even a reason, like, fueling the murders. I don't know, but that's just my...
True.
It's my take.
I also want to make sure that we note that this is clearly an homage to Psycho, casting the most famous actress at the time to be the person who dies right away, to throw the audience off guard, because you would think that she's going to be the main character, and she's not. There's a lot of little nods to different horror movies throughout this, which we'll talk about, but this is the first one. And also I want to say that I just was so confused. I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, but when the parents get there and they realize what's going on and the mom hears Casey on the other end, which is such a brilliant movie moment. It's so sad, and the actress who plays the mom is so good. Everyone's good in this movie, but she's, like, just this bit actor who's only in it for 2 seconds, and I think she's amazing.
Yeah, because the cries make you uncomfortable. I've never really like thought about that or given her credit before, but this is true.
Yeah, but then the dad is like, go outside immediately. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if there's a killer in the house or outside. We just know that our daughter is like dying and the house is on fire. So you go outside by yourself, get in the car by yourself, go to the Mackenzies, call 911. He tells her to do all these things herself, and he just stands there going, now what could have I'm in the house.
Dang it, that's not what I thought you were gonna say.
What do you think I was gonna say?
He says, go to the Mackenzies as like a reference to Halloween. Because I believe when they think I think the Mackenzies is the name of the family that like she tells the, I don't know, kid to go to. Whoever, like, there's a scene in Halloween where Jamie Lee Curtis says, go to the Mackenzies, call 911. Or like,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you said that because I remember that exact scene, and the same thing applies to that scene, that like, why would you go by yourself? But anyway, the times in this movie when it makes the least sense to me are the times when they're referencing other horror movies. Like when the killer appears behind the bushes later, to me that was kind of a nod to Halloween as well, because there's so many moments where Michael Myers is just outside.
Like out and about.
Yeah. And it's like, the what? This giant man dressed as a like white-faced killer is just standing behind the bushes. So that makes sense. And that's all I have to say about that opening scene.
Dang.
Oh, wait.
Okay,
no,
so
I lied.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, just one more thing. I know I'm going to take all
it.
day. Okay.
It's a good opener.
As much as I love the, like, horror movie trivia moment, I do get sad that they spoil Friday the 13th, because I think a lot of people genuinely haven't seen the first Friday the 13th, and that's one of my favorite horror movie twists. However, I've showed this movie to a lot of people and then showed them Friday the 13th, and they don't remember that. So that's probably just
That's what I was going to say. I definitely saw Friday the 13th afterwards. And also, you know what? It doesn't spoil the final scare of Friday the 13th, at least.
Talk about the winter head?
No.
The final scare.
Just like at the very end of the movie when she's in the boat.
I mean, yeah, but
anyway, but I was just gonna say I remember watching Friday the 13th, being affected by the big reveal because I had forgotten, and then being like, oh yeah, Mrs. Voorhees. Whatever. Anyway,
I guess we just spoiled it now. If you haven't seen
did.
It, so,
okay, it's fine.
Anyway,
but it's, you know what, they spoil it in Scream. It's fine.
They did it first. Whatever. Moving on.
So next would be Skeet Ulrich's character,
whose
Billy
legal name
Loomis.
Can I just stop you?
Yeah, Skeet.
His legal name is Skeet Ulrich. Okay, that's all.
Skeet.
Skeet.
Yeah, and I wrote down discount Johnny Depp, but I'm gonna be 100% honest. I think that I haven't watched the CinemaSins for Scream in a long time, but I want to bet that calling him discount Johnny Depp, like, that phrasing came from CinemaSins. But like Skeet, like, part of the reason why he was cast was because of his similar appearance to Johnny Depp, because like Nightmare on Elm Street, I guess, reference. I don't know if Johnny Depp climbs through a window in that movie, but it's supposed to make you think of Johnny Depp, I think. It's like the purpose, but
and
anyway.
Of course, the director of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp's first movie, is Wes Craven, who also directed this movie.
Yeah, we should have said that at the beginning.
Well,
Scream, 1996, directed by Wes Craven.
And
he did.
Well, we're saying it now. And he makes a cameo later in the movie dressed as Freddy Krueger, and then Fonzie's like, I'm not talking to you, Fred.
He's got the classic red and green striped sweater.
He do.
Yeah. The thing that when Billy comes in through the window, I don't remember like what he says initially, but there's a part where he's just like, I was watching The Exorcist. It made me think of you.
I love it.
I freaking love that line.
That's what my dream boyfriend would say to me. Okay. That's amazing. I was watching
He'd be like, Brie, remember that time that you vomited pea soup?
I'd be like, stop, don't say that in front of anyone. Oh my god.
The Exorcist was on Stars, or whatever.
And speaking of The Exorcist, Linda Blair makes a cameo in this movie.
Yes, she does. I'm pretty sure she's credited as like obnoxious reporter or something like that.
Nice. Maybe we'll watch The Exorcist later in this podcast because it's also very, very, very good, and I love it a lot. A lot. Okay, something that I noted from this scene first. I just love every character in this movie has a first and last name. That may seem like a weird thing to bring up, but think back to like a horror movie that you've seen recently enough that you can remember a character's name. I don't know how often they give them first and last names because they're usually just like fair. People that exist to die. And I like that, but also because I think everybody's names are so good. Maybe that's just me because I'm a fan, but Sidney Prescott, Billy Loomis, but Gail Weathers as
Gail Weathers. I sound like a meteorologist. Yes.
Dewey? I love Dewey. Deputy Doofus.
Yeah. God.
Anyway.
Sorry, this is like unintentionally also becoming like we're talking about Scream in this podcast. Later we're going to talk about From Dusk Till Dawn. We're also just talking about Scary Movie because it's inevitable.
Yeah, can't help it.
Scream was originally called Scary Movie. Like that was the rough title.
Yes, and Gail says that later in the movie. Roll credits. It's the very last part. She says, it started with a cry over 911, which is not how it started, but like something out of a scary movie. Yeah. And also Stu name drops the title in the kitchen.
It's a Scream, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So roll credits twice.
I'm done.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, more comments on Billy's introduction.
To me, it's clear that he's a creep the entire time, which I also feel like was intentional, to go back to my theory about it being a parody of horror tropes, because I feel like often in horror movies you can tell who the creepy character you shouldn't trust is right away. Yeah. And I think that they try to use that in this movie as like, it's so obvious it couldn't be him. But to me, and maybe I've seen it too many times, so I'm like tainted, but nice. I feel like it's just, it's gotta be. Like when Randy says, you're telling me that's not a killer?
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, because Randy calls out like both of the killers and gives like, I mean, half-assed reasons, I guess, but decent reasons. He calls out both of them before they're actually revealed.
And Billy's like, how do we know you're not the killer? As if Randy could be the killer. I'm sorry. But... And there's another scene where they try to make Dewey a red herring as well. He's like, Gail, we should go for a walk alone in the forest. And then there's like that horror movie music. It's not Dewey. I'm sorry.
Well, there's the one with Henry Winkler, too, where they just randomly have him, like, pull a knife on some high school punks to teach him a lesson.
He rips those kids in the asshole.
They show him, like, considering, like, putting on the mask or something. I don't know. They make it very, like, ooh, is it the Fonz? We don't know. It could be.
Hey, it's not. I think that the twist for me was always that it was two people. More so than that it was Billy. But I like that they make it seem like Billy's character gets killed off to be like, you thought it was him the whole time. He's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that they play back and forth with being very like, it's so obvious he is creepy, he is the killer, to like, wait, but maybe you trust him again. Ooh, an alibi. Ooh, he's dead. Just kidding.
But if you notice in that scene, we're skipping all over the place, but whatever, it's our show, not yours.
Not yours.
In that scene, he doesn't have any knife, like, cuts in his shirt. It's just a solid shirt with red on it.
Mm-hmm.
But he got killed by, air quotes, killed, by being stabbed repeatedly in the chest. So there would at least be a tear
like
in
some
his shirt.
Tears.
Yeah.
Not if it's I almost said pull-away knife. What are those called?
A retractable knife?
I guess so.
Like the retractable umbrella that they have later in that same set piece, which I found a little annoying this time, but I don't know why I found it was annoying. Sydney stabs Billy in the heart with an umbrella, and it's clearly a retractable because it goes straight through him. But if you've ever seen the tip of an umbrella, even if it's like a sharp one, you gotta have some force to stab that straight through somebody. Am I wrong? Like, they're not knives.
No, well, but you are wrong. No, that scene, the scene that they kept in the movie, the umbrella didn't retract the way it was supposed to, and it hits like a metal plate in Skeet Ulrich's chest. Like he has some sort of like metal plate from when he had surgery earlier, and like earlier in life, and the umbrella tip like hits the metal plate and causes him real pain. And his reaction was so genuine. They at least left the reaction in. I don't know.
I would like for us, if we have the time and we remember, I'd like for us to both sit down and watch that, because it really looks like a retractable. But I could be wrong. I believe your trivia.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, like, they showed his reaction from one take, but, like, the umbrella going in
from another, yeah.
The retractable, like, from when it retracted properly.
But if it actually did go through him, then I guess humans are mushier than I thought. Let's test it. I have one of those umbrellas. Right. Let's hit the streets.
Dang. Okay. Well, so do we want to go back to Billy Loomis first entering the bedroom then? Okay.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about that scene. Oh, we get some exposition from the dad, but I think they do it in a clever way. Sometimes it's annoying in movies where they're like, remember, I'm going to do this, and then this and this and this. But in this movie, at least, Sydney's like, yeah, you told me. Dad, I know. I know you're worried because I'm going to be alone and my mom got killed. They really play it off in a way that makes sense, which I enjoy. I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I like, would you settle for a PG-13 relationship? Yeah. And it's so funny that Neve Campbell's character is this way in this movie because she's in Wild Things, like, what, like the same year? The next year? I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was around the same time for sure.
Yeah, but that's all I gotta say.
Which she never, like, I don't think she ever shows actual nudity in Wild Things either.
Yeah, I don't believe so. She didn't show her tits until she went legits.
Until she went legits? That's right. Or maybe she never did. I don't know.
I don't think she did. No, I think she's a good, wholesome Canadian.
A good, wholesome Canadian.
So then after that, did you have more to say about Billy? I'm sorry.
No, we're all good. We're opening up to the school and all of the reporters being there, right? Like Gail Weathers' introduction.
Linda Blair.
Yes. Dewey's introduction.
Yes. Sydney has a friend named Tatum. She's a bitch. I feel like a lot of us probably had bitch friends in high school, so it makes sense. Tatum is such a cow to Sydney so often. So there's this brutal murder. Sydney says, oh, that's awful. Casey sat next to me in Spanish or whatever. And Tatum goes, not anymore. Like a bitch. And then...
That's funny. This entire time you're calling Tatum a bitch, I'm like, what are you talking about? I love Tatum. But that's because I'm not taking it in the context of, like, how I would feel, like, in Sydney's position with Tatum actually saying that about an actual person. I am just... like, movie, it's funny.
But then 2 seconds later, she's like, yeah, everyone's saying it's the most brutal murder since, you know, that time your mom was brutally assaulted and murdered a year ago today. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What a horrible friend. I love her. I love everything about her in this movie. I love it. Rose McGowan plays Tatum. I don't know if we've been saying... We have been.
We haven't. Isn't it... Wait, is it McGovern? Or am I losing my mind?
Oh, I thought it was McGowan. I don't know.
It's Rose McGowan. I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure you're... Who's to say?
I'm not going to look it up, but... Rose something. All these kids are 25, which makes sense because it's a rated R movie in the 90s, so fine. But this is a high school full of adults, clearly. I don't know how I would react if this movie...
Oh my god. I saw something that, like, Molly Ringwald was offered the role of Sydney, and then she turned it down because she was like, I, like, am tired of playing... I don't know how old she would have been at the time. She was, like, 29 or something, and she was like, I don't want to play a high schooler, but...
I am grateful that she turned it down, no offense to her and fans of Molly Ringwald, but I really like Neve Campbell in this role.
Oh, yeah. Neve Campbell does an amazing job. I don't think I would want it cast differently.
And Neve Campbell's acting has a lot of scream inhales. If you've been a fan of Neve Campbell for as long as I have, you may have seen her in other movies, such as Wild Things we mentioned before, or the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, The Tale of the Dangerous Soup. It's on YouTube. I recommend it. Neve Campbell does this thing.
The Dangerous Soup.
It's true. Neve Campbell does this thing when she's, like, scared, where she's, like, all the time, and I can't do it, but watch anything she's in and drank every time Neve Campbell scream inhales.
That's fair. I know what you're talking about for sure.
It's great.
From Wild Things and the Scream movies, yeah.
I'm so glad it's her. I love her in this movie.
Okay, so this introduction to Gail and Dewey, my, like, favorite part, or my favorite, like, bit of dialogue is when Gail says something like, in a demographic study, I like proved to be most popular with men ages 11 to 24, and then later Dewey like says something about having watched her show, and she's like, "So you are a fan?" And Dewey says, "I'm 25. I was 24 for a whole year."
It's so cute, and that the actors met for real in this movie, and they got married.
Oh yeah.
Then they got divorced.
Courtney Cox Arquette.
It's okay. I think they're still.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love it.
Weren't they divorced like by the time they had to film Scream 4?
Yeah, I think so. But we had fun. Courtney Cox, can I just say how beautiful Courtney Cox is?
When they put her in that lime green pantsuit, though, or I guess it's not a pantsuit.
True, but it's remember her tragic hair and what was it? Is it Scream 2 or Scream 3? Where she's got those
Scream
bangs.
2. Well, it's different every time. It's
every
different
time.
in every Scream movie, but I think Scream 2 might be the worst Courtney Cox hair.
The bangs are just half bangs. Like she doesn't make a choice about no bangs or full bangs. It's like
they're baby bangs. They're like chopped and cropped and
she looks like Grimes.
Ready to rock.
But I love her hair in this movie. Her eyes are so beautiful. I just love Courtney Cox. I don't know. I haven't seen Friends. Can you believe that?
I can believe it.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
I have seen Friends twice all the way through, I think.
I've been meaning to watch it. I'll get there. How did they afford the apartment? I don't know.
Oh, who's to say?
So, what else have we got going on?
I mean, the next thing that I noted was, like, after school is already out and Sydney is back at her house and waiting for Tatum to come over.
Oh, I wrote down the fountain scene.
Oh shit, the fountain scene.
Because that's when we meet the whole friend group.
Leave her alone. Yeah, that's important. Let's
Iconic.
talk about the gang.
So
gang.
So far we've met Skeet Skeet, who plays Billy, the boyfriend.
Indeed.
The bubble butt boyfriend. We've got Nev Campbell. Never showing my tits Campbell, who plays Sidney Prescott. We've got Rose McGovern, who plays Tatum. And then we've got...
I think it's McGowan. She's in Charmed.
I'm saying it how I choose. She's not going to listen to this. Unless she is. Hi, Rose. She's not. So, quick pause. On the cover of this movie, on the most commonly used poster and, like, DVD, VHS cover, it's only the people who are the most famous at the time, I assume. So it's like Nev, Skeet, Courtney Cox,
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, and I think maybe David Arquette's on it. But I think Matthew Lillard is the unsung hero of this film. And I think that...
Matthew Lillard and Rose are my faves.
Yes.
I think they have, like, the best lines. Also, Matthew Lillard definitely improv'd most of the best lines of the movie.
And it's amazing.
Like, I give him a lot of credit.
He's so good. He embodies this character so well. He makes it so fun. I can't imagine. It's like if Ryan Reynolds didn't play Deadpool. I can't imagine how someone else would have played this part.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very fitting cast.
And I'm very much like Jamie Kennedy as well as Randy. I think he's so perfect for this. And he also dated and married for quite a long time, though I think that they're divorced, Jennifer Love Hewitt from I Know What You Did Last Summer, written by the same person.
Connections.
We're all connected, baby. So yeah, we meet Stu, we meet Randy. Stu's dating Tatum. Randy's the nerd. Okay. I think this scene has some of the most fun quotes. This and
it takes a man to do that.
Something like that.
To do something like that. That's the most prominent one that I can think of just because they have the whole, like, oh, did they ask you if you hunt? They asked us if we hunt. And I don't know. Tatum, like, challenges that. They say, like, it takes a man to do something like that. And Tatum's like, or a man's mentality. I don't know. They kind of challenge that, like, it could be a woman.
Because they found her liver in the mailbox. And Randy's like, did you hear that? They found her liver in the mailbox next to her spleen and her pancreas. And Tatum's like, it's called tact, you fuck rag. These are all things that I just say unprompted in the wild.
I think Billy says it's called tact, you fuck rag.
Oh, Billy says it. Right.
Which I think is interesting because I think Stu is, like, getting... It depends on how you interpret it, but it's almost like Stu's getting, like, excited talking about the slicing and dicing.
Yeah.
And so then Billy says, hey, it's called that tact, you fuck rag, which, like, presumably at this point of the movie is just because, like, we're in the presence of ladies. Like, this is a gross topic. stop, you know, whatever. Like, that's how it comes across, but knowing that they're the killers, I feel like he's like, dude,
cool it.
Stop, like, being really excited talking about slicing and dicing. You're gonna give us away.
Yeah. Oh, good call. True. Okay, so then Sydney goes home. Can I say that somehow this town is small town vibes, but is technically a city, and every kid in this movie lives in the middle of nowhere. Stu
they live
lives
in the middle of nowhere, and they're stupid rich.
Yes.
Well, not really, but they have such nice properties. Immediately what I remember about Sydney's house is the wraparound porch.
It's beautiful, the view.
Well, then also, they do, okay, so, you know, it's like, it's a film tactic. It's showing the passing of time, but the frickin' cuts and zooms that they have on the sunset make me laugh every time. Like, they're just trying to show, like, I think Sydney falls asleep, so they're, like, trying to show, she calls Tatum, Tatum's like, I'll be there later, and Sydney's like, okay, she tries watching TV, we get the big reveal of, you know, there's, like, been hinted, I guess not big reveal, but there's been comments made about the tragedy of her mother, and that is when it's, like, first the news story is shown, and so we get, like, a little bit more detail about what happened there, and then she falls asleep on the couch, but yeah, they just have, like, I don't know why it cracks me up so much, but, like, a shot of the house, and then it just, the frame gets closer and closer on the sunset. I just think it lasts a little too long, anyway.
I didn't notice that. But yeah, she falls asleep, and then when she wakes up, Tatum calls, and then the killer calls. This scene is great because it establishes Sydney as, like, a badass who deviates from the typical horror movie girl, whatever. But she does a bunch of stupid bullshit. Can we agree?
I have written down, what am I doing? Nose picking scene seems badass, but because I think that is the scene where you're immediately like, oh, hell yeah. Like, she called the killer out. He wasn't there. Like, she, you know, did something ridiculous and he wasn't able to say what she was doing because he was bluffing or, you know, whatever. But her, like, standing outside like that
alone
by herself, like, alone, and yeah, middle of nowhere, like, no one, like, Tatum's not gonna be there yet.
The day after, the girl who sat next to her in class got brutally murdered. The killer is clearly still on the loose, and it's a year after her mom was brutally murdered. If my dog died a year ago, I wouldn't be over it. Her mom,
yeah,
and now that okay.
I always just try to excuse that, like, even though there's little red flags that go off in my head, and we should acknowledge that she makes some stupid decisions as far as, like, if an intruder, if you're being threatened, if it is an intruder, you know, don't behave this way. But I typically just choose to interpret it as, like, Sydney's a badass. Look at her taunting.
Which, I'll give it to you, but earlier, when she gets the phone call, much like Casey, she's not even bothered. Now, I've only been a woman for a brief time. But if I got a strange phone call from anyone, let alone a male-sounding voice, and he was saying creepy things, I don't know if I would be like, is this Randy? I don't have a boyfriend. I don't know. You sound kind of sexy. Everyone's reaction is so calm. Nobody is like, I don't like this. A telemarketer called me one time and I was like, my dog is dead. And I hung up. I can't imagine. Okay. She's like, Randy, I know it's you. I like what you're doing with your voice. It's sexy. I'm sorry. The what? Remember what happened last night? It's literally last night. I know she doesn't
know anything about the phone call aspect.
But does she have to? If this happened in Macomb. Do you know what I mean? Do they have to know there was a phone call involved? If some creep called you.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think I immediately, I don't know. I was trying to, like, put myself in their shoes, and also think, like, I don't know the plot of this movie, and have never heard of any crimes that, like, started because of a phone call. Like, if I was home alone, I was waiting for my friend to come over, and someone called and was like, what's your favorite scary movie? Like, would I chat with them for a while? Like, I'm home alone, I'm bored, I'm waiting for my friend to come over. I mean, like, I want to say no, but my reason for saying no is because of knowing this movie. And, like, if it was the 90s too, because I'm also thinking, like, with my personal cell phone and caller ID and blah, 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 that I would be like, wrong number, and I'd hang up. But, like, I don't know. No, I mean, I would like to think that the voice would throw me off and I would feel uncomfortable and I would hang up, or I would like pick up on a vibe and I would feel uncomfortable and I would hang up. But like,
I guess it's just because the killer's voice is too sexy. I get it. Both girls so far have been like, ooh, a little bit, you know? So I get it. All right.
Well, I just feel like if someone was like, hey, what's your favorite scary movie? I'd be like, yeah, let's chat.
You are much more cavalier than I am.
I doubt I really would. I'm just trying to.
Let's test it out. Take it to the streets. Let's start calling people. No.
Star 69.
But of course, he says something offensive about her mother's death, and immediately she knows this ain't no carnival, no games.
Yeah,
it's the real thing. Oh, we skipped a part that I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry to jump back because this is a good moment in the movie. But there's a scene earlier where she opens a closet door and there's like jump scare kind of horror movie score, but nothing has happened. I feel like that happens kind of peppered through this movie and also throughout the Scream franchise, and I always really like that because it makes the atmosphere tense even before things start popping off. And then in this moment, she doesn't open that closet. The killer's in that closet already when she comes back inside. So it's like a good subconscious callback to that moment. I enjoy it a lot. And Sydney makes a comment about it's always some big-breasted girl who's running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. But because she did what's it called when it's like a little necklace for the door? You talking about? It's a little chain, you put it in the thingy. She does that kind
of little necklace for the door. Like, ooh, you know that like accessory that makes you feel a little extra safe. That little chain lock. That little.
Yeah. She does that guy, and then she can't go out the front door, so she has to go up the stairs. And then there's another callback to earlier when her dad tries to come in her room. She's able to jam the door using her closet door, so she does that again. I enjoy that. I feel like it's very clever throughout. So, and then. Oh, you go.
That would have been the 911 call on the computer scene. We've got the drama of Billy owning a cell phone.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Billy drops his phone and her face.
She is like, what the hell is this? You've got some explaining to do. And me being born after this movie came out. Like, I have always been used to cell phones being a normal thing, so in fact, yeah, her reaction, like, I always have to remind myself, like, it's 1996, like, cell phones were not that common.
When they're at the police
not
station.
as common.
When they're at the police station and the cop says, now tell me.
What the hell are you doing with a cell phone, son? Yeah, sorry.
And he's like, everybody's got him. Clearly not, because I can't believe you, like, you killed a kitten in front of her. Like, she's like... Okay, so I love that. Yeah. And I wrote down here, I was going to ask you, but then I figured out later in the movie, all I had to do was just watch it. I was going to say, why did he have a phone on him? Because then they track it and it's not the phone or something? Or Dewey's like, we don't think it's this phone, but we got to finish looking up the records to find out exactly. But then later in the movie, it's because they're like, oh, we found out the calls came from Sydney's dad, air quotes. So I guess maybe, I don't really know why he had it. Because, I mean,
wouldn't you presume it was so that he looks suspicious and so that they can check those records and see that he's free to go, just so that he can, like, keep Sydney's trust? And be like, remember, they checked me out. Like, I know I'm being really creepy lately because I'm creepy. But, like, remember when you thought that I was the killer and you got proof that I'm not? Yeah.
Yes. That is true. So, it makes sense. But I initially wrote it down, so I was very confused.
This is the point in the movie where I wrote down that there is a lot of skewed shots. Like, skewed angled shots. I don't know if that's something you've paid attention to before. I don't know if it is, like... a tactic of some sort, or like where you're supposed to feel unsettled because it's a horror movie, but I just noticed there are a lot of cuts where it's like it's just showing like a car or something and it's tilted or
I like it a lot. I don't know if you have an opinion on it stylistically, but I think it's really cool. It gives it a signature look.
Yeah.
Especially
I don't know, I think I'm pretty neutral. I think the fact that I noticed it made me wonder if they like do it too much.
Sure.
But I
thought it was like especially stylistic in the scene where Tatum gets killed because there's a lot of it in that scene, and I really enjoyed the way that they play with levels, like the way that they make her seem like she's lower and the killer seem higher, like he has control over her. But yeah, I guess if it's just a car, I can see why you're like, Wes Craven, what you doing with that camera?
We're like, add another tilted shot. Make it feel weird.
What else did I read?
So a little while later, I mean, I don't, stop me if there's a more significant scene, but a little while later, we've got the scene with a cop talking with Dewey, and they're just like kind of trying to brainstorm and like figure out what to do next in the case. And every time the cop takes like a drag from his cigarette, Dewey licks his ice cream cone.
Yes, I forgot. I remember that you told me that, but I wrote down in my notes, Allie brought this up once. What was it? Are we supposed to do a shot every time Dewey licks his ice cream cone? Which really shows my priorities. So.
What is that? It must be a drinking game rule. No, yeah, well, and every time I've pointed it out, too, it's to the point where, like, so if you start watching it, and every time he takes a drag from his cigarette, you know, he takes a lick from the ice cream cone. At the end of the scene, he drops his cigarette, and so then your, like, immediate thought is that Dewey is also gonna drop his ice cream cone, but he does not.
I wish. Missed opportunity. I really like, earlier in the police station, when they're talking about the killer's costume, which, by the way, great horror movie character design, obviously, it's become quite iconic. I don't know if it's like chicken before the egg kind of situation, if the costume existed before the movie, but I distinctly remember this costume being everywhere when I was a kid. My brother and I both had one before we'd even seen the movie or knew what it was. It was at Walmart all the time. It was a very big costume.
I think there was at least one person that was always dressed as the Ghostface killer, like in elementary school or whatever. Like every single year for Halloween, there was at least one person with that costume, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, and I
don't understand.
I feel like
there was also like a version that came out with like a bloody mask too. Mm-hmm. And I remember like every single year, like a kid would get the bloody mask scream face, and then it would break halfway through the day or during the Halloween party or whatever we got to do as kids in elementary school. And so then they'd have to put their mask in the sink because it was leaking fake blood all over the place. I feel like this happened multiple times.
Can't trust kids.
But
I like it either way, whether it existed before the movie or after. The idea that anyone could be wearing this costume because you can get it from anywhere. I think that makes it particularly scary. So it's not like someone fashioned this specifically for them. It's like it could be anyone underneath the mask. And also because, again, this feels like a clear reference to Halloween in the fact that they, if you don't know, they basically were like, we don't know how to make Michael Myers look, so we're just going to go to the store and like find a mask. Yeah. And they found a William Shatner mask, and they kind of just messed it up and like melted it a little bit, and that's the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah,
and so
they were like, perfect.
This is another like melted down white face kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Ghostface was supposed to have a white cloak, and then they were like, to make him look more ghosty, and then they were like, oh, yeah, he looks a little KKK-ish.
Different kind of horror. Much different kind of horror movie there. Get Out, though, came out several years later, and we'll talk about that another time. We skipped just a few iconic quotes that I want to talk about, and one really dumbass scene that I want to talk about.
All right, let's hit it.
We skipped, bam, Sid, super bitch.
Yeah. I'll send you a copy. Bam, bitch went down. I'll send you a copy. Bam, Sid, super bitch.
Also,
so good.
It's just a little one, but the janitor's your superior. I enjoy it a lot. When Sydney sleeps over at Tatum's house, here's what we know. Imagine we're in the movie. We're these 25-year-old high schoolers. All we know is what's going on in real time. We know that at least 2 students have been brutally murdered. We know there's a killer on the loose. We know that the killer has been calling people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sydney's sleeping over at Tatum's house. They get a phone call. Tatum's mom answers the phone. I'm calling for Sid, says the voice. Who knows if he uses his real voice, if he uses the Ghostface voice. It doesn't matter. What, does it matter? No. I want to talk to Sid. Tatum's mom is like, sounds good to me. Everything makes sense. And hands Sydney the phone. Sydney
like, who is this? Oh, how did they know that she was there?
Sydney's like, who is this? And Tatum's mom's like, oh, they didn't say. They just wanted to talk to you.
What?
Sure. Okay. Wow. That's all I had to say about that part.
Well, I also love that Dewey, like, after they realized that the phone call was like, oh, it was him again, or that they realized that it upset her, or whatever they realized, Dewey, like, runs to the phone and picks it up, and it's like, no.
He goes,
like, what are you gonna find out?
Hello.
Dewey? I think, okay. There's one thing that we need to talk about, and that is my least favorite line in this entire movie. I believe that during the scene where the cop is smoking the cigarette and Dewey is, sorry, I don't remember this character's name the cop he's talking to. Smoking the cigarette and Dewey is licking his ice cream cone. I believe they're like standing outside the store when Tatum and Sydney are shopping, or is that later?
Standing outside the store. That's later because, okay. Hold on. I wrote this down exactly what you're talking about. It is definitely later, but I can't say. Keep going though.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, we'll just talk about it now. My least favorite line in the entire movie, which it also makes me laugh every time. It's terrible. I was like, the more that I describe it, the more that Brie will immediately be like, oh yes, this line. Yeah, Sydney is talking about how she has not had sex with Billy, and she's like not comfortable yet, and she's experiencing some capital T trauma because her mother was raped and killed. So clearly trauma. And there's a part earlier where Billy like pulls her aside and talks about it and is like, you need to get, like, your mom's been dead for a year, you need to get over it. Or he's like, my mom's gone, and she's like, yeah, your parents got divorced, my mom's in the ground, and he said it's been a year, get over it. So already lots of creepy, like, sexual pressure stuff. And then we've got the scene with them in the grocery store where Sydney says the words, it's like I'm sexually anorexic or something. Worst line in the movie. It does make me laugh just because what does that mean?
It sounds like something a high schooler would say to me though. Because I don't know. It's definitely dumb, but like, I mean,
the accurate writing, you feel, for like something someone would have said off the cuff, like not thinking of. I
think so, yeah.
Yeah? That's fair. I'm still gonna let it be my least favorite line in the movie, but saying that it is like true of something that teenagers would like say without thinking about.
I think that it's more natural than, I'm sorry if my traumatized life is an inconvenience to you and your perfect existence. Which she also says. And then Billy goes, stupid. And I like that. But yeah, you're right. That is an unpleasant line. And then the killer's just like in the supermarket.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can see his the ghost face reflection and like a freezer door, a fridge door.
Tell me it's not a parody. Just gets all yeah, Billy's a little bitch. He pulled her aside in high school and he's like, oh, so you rather accuse me of being a killer than touch me? And Nev Campbell's like, I just assumed like broke character for a moment. It was like, excuse me? Like her face is like, say it again. And he's like, yeah.
Nev Campbell's just like, Skeet, I thought you were nice. We worked on the craft together. Like, we have this rapport, and now you're saying this bullshit to me.
It's just such a ridiculous thing to say. And then, as you already said, the thing about like, yeah, my parents are divorced. I know what it's like. Your mom's dead. My mom left. It was the same thing. Again, Nev Campbell's like, we're doing this? So, and then when she runs down the hall, she does like this crazy, like she's flailing around. I don't know, it makes me laugh. Or maybe that's Scary Movie. Same thing. There's a part where before they go to the store to get whatever they buy, we see the killer behind the bushes that moment, and Tatum has some great quotes. She says, she mentions the Richard Gere gerbil story, which I didn't know what that was before I saw this movie, and I've now looked it up many times. I'm sure Richard Gere hates that that's in such an iconic movie, so now everybody knows forever. I'm not going to explain it here. If you're interested, look it up. And
yeah, I was like, I genuinely don't think I've ever looked it up before, but I'll be doing it.
I was very interested after that. It's a crazy rumor. That's not true, for the record. Is not true.
Allegedly.
Okay, allegedly. And then she says, it's like we're in some sort of Wes Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Very funny. We get it. Yeah. And then, can I talk about a little thing? I know we've been talking about this for 3 years, but this is important to me.
Okay.
I know that we're in high school, and I know that there's some bitch girls in high school. Tatum, okay, example. But these girls in the bathroom, this scene lasts for 2 seconds, but every time I watch this movie, I am floored by how mean. Sydney goes to the bathroom after Billy's being an asshole to have a weep, as we all do. And these girls are like, I bet she made up getting attacked by the killer that's actually clearly on the loose that's killing high schoolers. Like, I bet she made it up for attention. Maybe she's a slut like her mom. Like all this rude shit. Yeah. I'm so... It doesn't matter. I just wanted to speak it into the universe that, like...
Where do you get this shit? Ricky Lake.
I just am so surprised.
Yeah. I was about to be like, they're not, they're not being that rude. Like, they don't know that Sydney's there and can hear them, but it's still really messed up stuff to say.
Awful. And then the killer's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reminded of that scene in Scary Movie again. Ugh, I can't stop bringing it up.
It's because Scary Movie mimics the scene so well. Like, some of them, well. I want to see them shot for shot, like, side by side, because I feel like they did it shot for shot, but...
Yeah.
They probably didn't. They call... It's good.
It's good.
I'm sorry. What Brie was gonna say was, in this scene is parodied because in Scream, after they have this, they show the Mean Girls conversation and Sydney's in the stall having a weep, they show the killers, like... They show 2 feet come down underneath the stall, and then they show the robe lower, so you can tell that the Ghostface killer is at the high school. And in Scary Movie, they do this scene, they amp up the drama, and they have, like, 8 pairs of feet come down, like, the 2 feet come down just like they do normally in Scream, and then another foot, and then another foot. And then another
so
and another.
It's so funny. And God bless Anna Faris? It doesn't. Anyway, the whole time she's genuinely so terrified and you can't help but like bust a gut at all these feet. And she's like, no, oh God, no, please. It's such a good movie. They have to be watched together. I know that Scary Movie is ridiculous and a lot of it doesn't age well, but just, okay.
Like, if you ever have the time commitment for a movie marathon and you're like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch 3 films. It's a snow day, I'm quarantined, I'm, whatever the hell's going on. Like, watch Scream and then watch I Know What You Did Last Summer and then watch Scary Movie. And you will have yourself a grand old time.
And if you're a true 90s baby, like some of us, and you want an extra treat, I would highly recommend you watch. You don't have to watch the whole show, I promise. You can just watch this one episode. Boy Meets World has a parody of all these movies. It's called And Then There Was Sean. I used to know what season and what episode, but in my old age, I don't remember. It's so funny, and Jennifer Love Hewitt is in it, and it's just, I'm telling you, it's so good. If you really love all these movies and you want more.
Dang, I've never seen it. I'm sure you've suggested it to me before, and I just have forgotten. But
it's such a treat.
I'll give it a little watch.
So school's canceled because everybody's dying, and there's a curfew.
School is out for summer, but it's really because people are dying.
And everybody's like, "Let's have a party," a thing that
because
definitely
naturally.
Makes sense. And then I love that Dewey drops them off at the party. The police officer.
Okay. He walks in, he like grabs a beer from someone and is like, "You're underage." I'm just kidding. Have fun.
It's a pretty lit party. I would actually love to be invited.
We have got the music that is playing in the background as they zoom in on the house of the party. The lyrics are saying "You're all dead," kind of foreshadowing, as many of them are gonna die.
But not all of them. Not even close to all of them.
True.
So, but a lot
they're all too busy checking out Henry Winkler's body hanging from a goalpost. All of them leave the party before the real killing begins.
Can you imagine if our principal died and then everyone's reaction was, "Let's go check it out"?
Yeah, I mean, they're all trashed, first of all, and also died. Was brutally murdered, and then like his body is hung from the goalpost. Let's go see it before they cut him down, and everyone's like, "Yeah," and everyone at the party.
How did they get his body?
Go.
I guess it's but how? It's fine.
Wait, yeah, how did they kill him and get his body up there and make it to the party?
Because the party's at Stu's house, though. Well, Billy gets there super late, so I guess he did it by himself. Or if you've seen Scream 3, he had an accomplice, kind of. Sort of. Sometimes. A little. Well, it's...
Maybe.
Far
sequels. The sequels are a whole other thing. I'm like, anything else significant about the party before we go into Tatum's death scene?
I don't think so. We didn't really talk about Family Video with Randy, but we don't need to. I just like that scene.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the one notable thing is just him saying, like...
Everybody's
like,
a suspect!
You don't... Like, everybody's a suspect, and also, like, if you're trying not to be suspicious, then why are you hanging out in the horror film section? Or, like... yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's a suspect. I also love when he is like, I'm not the killer because so at the fountain scene, he says, I'm not the killer because I was working. And they're like, didn't you get fired from that place? And he goes, twice.
Maybe 3 times after that.
I want to work at a video store. Yeah, after yelling like that.
Yeah. I just love all of the horror movie love in this movie. When the principal dies, there's a close shot on his eye that's also an homage to Psycho. And then at the party, they're like voting on which horror movie to watch. So Randy's like, who votes for Hellraiser? Who votes for Halloween? And they obviously watch Halloween. And I just, it's so good. If you love horror movies, you'll love this movie.
You love it so much.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about one of the best scenes in this movie. I Spit on Your Garage.
Yes. Okay, so I have seen this particular scene more than any of the rest of the movie because I had to like write a sequence analysis paper for a horror film class, and I got to pick whatever scene I wanted, but just like had to go very detailed shot for shot. So I've seen it a ton, but I think that it was the right choice for that assignment because I am still not tired of this death scene. We got a lot going on. We got Rose nipping out immediately. We got her being like, what am I, the beer wench? When they ask her to go get the beers. Also really appreciate that they had bottles and not cans. What teenagers would do that, though? I don't know. It was probably whatever
90s.
Beer was free for them. The 90s.
Here's how I feel about this scene. It's brilliant. There's a cat that, like, screams and there's a jump scare and, like, runs by, and it's, like, it's a scaredy cat kind of thing, and I like that. I like that they talk a lot about how in horror movies there's that trope about the big-breasted girl, and we have Rose McGowan with her huge breasts and these, like, huge, like, it's, like, 0 degrees because her nips are, like, at full attention, and then she's bent over to get the beers, and her skirt is a spiral, like, into her asshole, so your eyes, like, look so intently at her ass because of the design of her skirt. She's so overly sexualized.
I do love that fit, though.
I do. I love it. She looks so cool. That would be a great Halloween costume. Then, again, we have an instance where one of the girls is about to get attacked by the killer, and her attitude is so cavalier, so calm. And I know it's because she thinks that it's not actually the killer, but again, not once has anyone taken it seriously at first. Not once.
Is that you, Randy? Lose the outfit. If Sydney sees it, she'll flip.
Why does everyone think it's Randy every time?
I don't know. She might not even say Randy in that scene.
She
I'm
does.
Not sure, but
you're right.
Does she? Okay.
She does.
Yeah. She says so many, and she just says one-liner after one-liner.
It's so good.
Oh.
And then in Scary Movie, I'm sorry. In this moment, she's like, do you want to play Psycho Killer? Can I be the helpless victim? In Scary Movie, she literally, like, breaks her bone out of her leg. And she's like, oh, now my leg is broken and I'm helpless. And then she gets her head cut off and she's like, now I'm a scary dead head. Is that really the best you could do? It's so good. I'm just going to quote all of Scary Movie today, clearly.
All of Scary Movie. I mean, it's... a Scary Movie just accentuates how good of a film Scream already is.
It really does.
That's what I think. But yeah, no, I am a big fan of the, like, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface.
Mr. Ghost? What is this,
the devil? Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. And he's like, he kind of shakes his head or something. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't. But every time I'm like, Tatum, you are not making it to the sequel.
She did not. So. Now, can we talk about...
And then, the garage crushing her head. The door crushing her head. First of all, I feel like most garage doors would have a sensor to stop that. Also, the fact that she was, like, too skinny. I'm Rose. She's too tiny. Sorry, I'm not going to say it that way. She's a very small actress. She could like slip out of that dog door very easily. They had to nail her shirt to the dog door so that she wouldn't fall out.
And she goes through it,
and I feel like you can see it pretty easily, like that she's like wriggling but like holding herself against it. So it kind of makes the scene a little frustrating because you're like, Tatum, just go.
Well, without knowing that trivia, what always struck me is that she goes to the door in such an awkward way. And I feel like you could try to justify it by saying she's being attacked right now by a killer. Like, I'm sorry that she didn't. But she goes through like one arm and the other arm is like bent. So it's like her shoulders are preventing her, is kind of what it looks like. But then when she gets like sort of hanged by the garage door, it's like by her neck. So it's such a weird... They had to do a lot of different cuts and angles to make it work, and even then, we have this weird, like, plasticky head as the door smashes her, and it's so, like, gross looking, and I love it.
That's fair. I think the thing that's frustrating about her death scene, her being crushed by a freaking garage door, head crushed in, is she was doing a good job before that. Like, she was reacting pretty quickly. Yes, she started out by immediately, like, not thinking that the person was a threat, thinking it was somebody joking in a costume. That was pretty dumb. But, like, her throwing, like, picking up beer bottles that she had dropped and throwing them at him, her, like, opening the door into his face, like, I don't know. I just really like that scene because she is very quick with the stuff around her. And even, like, you know, the door going back down and then just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna try to crawl through the dog door. Like, I need to make it out of here. She's resilient. I feel like she's a good fighter. Yeah. Even though she, you know, is the, like, big-titted blonde, you know, whatever. Like, big boot, or whatever Sydney says.
Yeah.
Dumb blonde with the big tits running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. Like, that's kind of how Tatum is portrayed. But then she does well.
She does. I think, I don't know if you've thought about this before or if you have any guesses, but I think that this kill is done by Billy. Because I guess he's not technically, like, at the party yet. He shows up after most people have left. And that's kind of why I think it's him, first of all, because he hasn't made his entrance, but also because Stu is sitting and watching Halloween with everybody. And
he's the one who, like, says, bring me a beer.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that he didn't, like, then get up and then... Yeah. I think it's Billy.
I feel like I would agree with that.
Yeah. So then a bunch of people leave. They say, nobody here but us chickens, which is a reference to Friday the 13th. Billy shows up. I don't know. So, this moment...
Billy is like...
Yeah.
Let's go fuck. And then...
Yeah, Neve Campbell says something like, you know what, maybe everyone is right. Maybe my mom was terrible, and I should just accept it. I don't want to be like her. And it's so weird to me. I don't... Whatever. I think she's just dealing with the pressure of everyone making her feel like she's crazy.
Yeah.
Because now Billy has said it, and Tatum was like, you need to accept that your mom was a slut. Like... Everybody keeps saying this to her. Gail was like, I feel like
it's just an example. Like, this is why you don't victim blame, because the more that people victim blame, then family or friends of the victim, to be convinced to put the fault on. I don't know.
I agree. And after
like, I hate that she says that, but everyone around her is victim blaming, and she gets influenced by that.
Yeah. And after they have sex, she suspects Billy again. And I just wonder if that she was thinking that the whole time, or if somewhere, like, during coitus, she was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It was that post nut clarity. Just kidding. She didn't. I doubt she came.
Yeah, no, she did not come. Also, why is she sitting on the bed and he's on the floor after they're done? Like, did he sit
Did he get lost?
I know it's hard for some young folks to find the okay, that was a bad joke. I'm gonna put it away. Anyway, okay. So then Billy gets fake killed. It's kind of fun. I really like this moment when Sydney gets chased by the killer because he knows all of the secret ways around the house. If that makes sense. Like, he kind of is just appearing all over the house in a way that makes it clear that he knows the layout of the house, which to me, it makes it obvious that it's Stu. But also earlier, Stu was like, I'm going to go get another beer. Does anyone need one? I'll be right back. But Tatum's just been brutally murdered in that garage where the fridge is, where the beers are. So in order for him to go get it, he would have seen her body. And since he doesn't react, again, it's like all these little moments, if you like really notice, that make it kind of clear.
I don't think I've ever thought about that one before. The fact that he would have gone to the garage to get beer with Tatum's body staying there.
Yeah. Sydney falls out of the window. This is such a final girl moment.
And lands in the freaking boat where you're like, oh, that's convenient.
Here's how I feel about that. I know that there was tarp on the boat, but there's a boat under the tarp. So, did she land on a tarp that had a mattress?
I know there's a tarp on the boat, but there's also a boat on the boat. Underneath the boat, there's more boat. And when you land on boat, it hurts.
It does. I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah, no, that's always kind of bothered me.
Do you want to talk about the, look behind you?
Jamie! Look behind you, Jamie! Yeah, the first time I heard that trivia was definitely from you. So the actor that plays Randy, his name is Jamie. He is watching Halloween. He's alone at this point, because I think everyone has gone to go see the principal's body or whatever. Everyone's gone. So Randy's watching Halloween by himself. And he's saying, Jamie, look behind you, Jamie, because Jamie Lee Curtis is the main character in Halloween. And the actor that plays Randy's name is also Jamie. And as this is happening, the Ghostface killer is coming up behind him. So as he is saying, Jamie, look behind you, Jamie, it kind of feels like he's talking to himself. And we, the audience members, are also like, Randy, turn around.
Yeah.
It's great. That is one that I feel like I have to point out to people if I'm showing it to somebody who doesn't know it or watching it with friends. Like I feel like I always announce that one because I just love that.
Me too. Every time.
Like you don't get it if you don't know the actor's name, but it's a cute little addition.
Also, by this point, he's done the like rules of how to survive a horror movie, which I made sure to write down. He mentions 3 specific ones, but I think the list expands in other movies.
Yes.
And so at least the first 2 rules are broken by characters who do survive this movie. The third is broken by Stu, but he obviously doesn't survive this movie, but I just kind of wanted to note that. The first rule is no sex. Obviously, Neve Campbell's character has sex in this movie. The second rule is don't drink or do drugs, but Randy has been drinking all night.
Yeah.
And then later he says, I've never been so glad to be a virgin, because he gets shot, he doesn't die.
He's like, I didn't break any of the rules, but he already did.
Yeah.
And then I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stu says it.
I like when...
I never say it, because you won't be back. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to jump so far ahead, so you go ahead.
Okay. I love the rule scene in this movie. I almost forgot that they, like, expand upon the rules in the other movies, or at least in the next one, but, since Scream was one of the first horror movies I saw, it was pretty cool to have that formula, even though he only says a few basic things. Now, anytime that I watch, like, a dumb teen slasher movie, or, something that maybe has lower ratings or whatever, something that's going to follow a basic horror movie, format and isn't going to be that surprising, it's fun to be like, oh, these characters had sex, now they're not going to survive, or, whatever, and kind of, because typically the rules are true, and not always, but it's fun to have Randy's, like, explanation of the how to survive a horror film rules in my head, and then see them apply to, like, classic horror, or to something that comes out this year, and it, like, still fits with who survives and who doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. Later, Dewey and Gale go for a walk, and I just wanted to note another cute Dewey line. He has a lot of cute moments in this movie. They fall down a hill or whatever, and he lands on top of her, and they kiss, and then she sees Sydney's dad's abandoned vehicle, and she says, "Is that what you were looking for?" But he's still looking at her, and he says, "My whole life." Yeah. Dewey. It's really cute.
It was that scene that that started their relationship. I don't know. The actors fell in love in that moment. Maybe. I don't know. Let's ask.
Yeah. Hello,
Courtney.
The camera guy dies, and his name is Kenny, which I feel like was definitely an intentional reference at this time in the 90s, since
South
it's a movie
Park.
for teenagers. Yeah.
They killed Kenny. Yeah. That actor ad-libbed the line where, I don't know, Gail Weathers says, like, Jesus, hurry up, or says, like, Jesus, hurry up. I don't know what she says.
She does.
Yeah, anyway. Hurry the fuck up. I was trying to swear, and then I was like, does she say fuck? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. She says, my name's not Jesus. Sorry, take it.
She says, Jesus, the camera. He goes, my name's not Jesus.
Yeah.
And then she says,
that's it.
Kenny? I'm just going to put in the quote from her, but I like her.
Look, Kenny?
Yeah?
I know that you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now!
Okay, I just love Courtney Cox.
I was like, I think people have beef with that quote, but it's just because she's mean.
They beef with it?
Fat tub of lard ass. They got beef with it.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I guess the most important scene is the last one after this. Oh no. Oh, can I just say, when Sydney's in the police car and there's that moment where the killer has the keys and he's slowly unlocking the doors and then the trunk. I really like that bit of visual storytelling, but I also like when she goes on the police radio, she says, I'm at Stu Marker's house. Come quick. He's going to try to kill me.
Yeah.
Because she's right. He is. Stu is trying to kill you, but she doesn't know that. I just like that wording there. That just implants in your mind again, like subconsciously, that Stu's
yes.
the killer. Yeah. And then she's running into the house, and Randy's like, it's not me. And Stu's like, it's not me. And then she says, fuck you both, which is so hot. Correct. Fuck you both.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, I love that scene. Because I feel like as an audience member, you're maybe like, or I guess if you don't know who the killer is yet, but if you know who the killer is, you're like, oh, let Randy in. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, trust Randy. But yeah, no, at the same time, you're like, oh, absolutely, she did the right thing. Like, she doesn't have time to decide which one of them is telling the truth and who's not. Like, just shut that door, save yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What I love about the scene in the kitchen where the killers are like explaining their plan and we get the reveal of the two killers is if you have seen somehow Scary Movie but not Scream, which I'm sure people have.
Sure.
You might wonder where all the like queer jokes come from about Stu and Billy being intimate with each other because it's a very big joke in that movie.
I completely forgot about that because I literally have written down in my notes, you think Billy and Stu are gay? Because just rewatching it, I see the scene, like I see the way they're holding each other, and also I imagine that like trusting each other and performing these killings, like there's reasons for it to be intimate. It doesn't have to be romantic or sexual, but there's reasons for it to be intimate. But yeah, I totally forgot that was like heavily parodied.
And I think that, again, Scary Movie knocks out of the park in the way that they do it because it's clearly weighted more on Stu's side. Like, Stu is like always the one getting very close to Billy and getting like physical, even when they're in the video store. Billy's in Randy's face because he's threatening him, but for some reason Stu decides to get close and be in that moment with Billy, like we're sharing in this moment, and he's stroking Randy's ear, and then again in the scene, Billy's threatening Sydney, and Stu decides to get very close to him so they can share. And so in Scary Movie, the actor who's playing Stu is the one who's like, you know, he's always wearing some like cut-off shirt or like whatever, and Billy's like, dude, what? And he's like, oh no, okay, my bad.
Yeah. Man, I completely forgot about that. But yeah. You're right.
Billy says, Sydney says, fuck you to Billy. And Billy says, we already played that game. You lost. A quote that's never made sense to me. Not once.
What?
She lost the game, fuck you? How do you lose? Because she fucked him. She lost the game? Wouldn't that mean that she won if the object of the game is to fuck him? Also, what a weird thing to say. He means... What is he? I mean, I get what he means, but like...
You're thinking about it too hard. I don't know.
Does it
I
make
always
sense
liked
to you?
that line. Yeah, it does. It does. We've already played that game, remember? You lost. I don't know.
I guess I get what you mean. I don't know.
Because because I think she's saying fuck you, like saying go fuck yourself or whatever, fuck you, and he is saying like ha ha ha. I mean it's not literal in the words. I feel like he is just saying like ha ha, remember like half an hour ago when I took your virginity, or however you want it, like when we had sex together, like when you trusted me enough to sleep with me, even though now you know.
True.
Like I just feel like that is all he is saying, and that it's not literally like we were playing a game and you lost.
No, you're right. I will give you that. I was overthinking it. Then you explained it, and I was like, but of course.
But of course.
But as a follow-up, I raise you, Buka! And that's all I have to say. Billy says, Cindy says, what's your motive? Billy says, did Norman Bates have a motive? Did they ever decide why Hannibal Lecter likes to eat people? It's scarier to have no motive. Here's how I feel. Did Norman Bates have a motive? I mean, there was a reason, certainly, why, if you've seen Psycho, it's not like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Did they ever decide why Hannibal Lecter likes to eat people? Yeah, it's a book series, right? So in Hannibal Rising, they explain that his sister was eaten, and then they made him eat his sister, and then he developed. Okay, they do. Billy says it's scary with no motive, but Billy too has a motive. So what he is saying is gobbledygook. Am I wrong?
I mean, unless you're just like taking what he's saying and allowing it as an explanation for why Stu went along with it, because Stu, quote unquote, does not have a motive.
His motive is love.
Love for Billy. It's true. Yeah.
But then Stu is shocked. His face is visibly shocked at Billy's revelation that his dad had an affair with Sydney's mom, and that's why he was doing it. It's because he was mad about that. I don't know if you noticed that, but like the face that Matthew Lillard has is like, oh, I didn't even know that. So what did Stu think if he didn't know about the connection with Sydney's mom?
I think Stu thought that like
it would just be fun.
No, that like, okay, so what Billy Loomis says about like, oh, well, did Norman Bates have a motive, or like whatever his whole speech is, I'm assuming is the same speech that he gave to Stu, or like, you know, a similar conversation that he and Stu had when they decided to do this in the first place. Like that is the motive that was explained to Stu, or like was like brought, like, we're just gonna do this like the movies, I don't know, type of thing, and Stu's just like, fuck yeah, whatever, man, I'm in love with you. No. But whereas Billy has like an actual motive, but he's keeping it to himself, because you wouldn't just reveal that to Stu. What if he turns him in? Instead he like gets him on board with this motiveless killing spree of like, psycho killers never have motives, look at all these people. And maybe that's why his like excuses are kind of arguable too, because
well said. Okay. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Psycho kill.
And then Matthew Lillard proceeds to just improv some of the best quotes in the entire
some of
franchise.
The best lines in the entire movie. I love Matthew Lillard's work in this film. Amazing. My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Read the quotes.
I was actually just gonna edit them all in.
Oh, good. Perfect.
I'm feeling woozy here. Fucking hit me with a phone, Dick! Did you really call the police?
You bet your sorry ass I did.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad. If you get it wrong, you die.
You get it right, you die.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
That works.
Because I like it better when he says that. But I'm itching to say you hit me with the phone, Dick. And then
say it in the tone. Come on, give it a...
You hit me with the phone, Dick!
Hello? I just
Did you really call the police? Anyway. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wrote down.
Houston, we got a problem here. I'm feeling a little woozy. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
And when he's spitting, when he's like, this one's gonna be scream.
I think you cut me a little deep.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
That's I will give this movie 10 knives out of 10 knives.
I would stab this movie 10 out of 10 times out of love.
Are we gonna have to like watch one movie per episode, or do you think we just did this because it's Scream?
I think we did this because it's Scream and because it was our first time recording, so we don't have any like outline or flow or you know, whatever. Like, I think we'll be able to do 2 episodes in the future.
Okay, cool.
But yeah. So I do have a few random things.
Yeah.
This happens at the very beginning of the party. I just really like the line where Stu says "as if" and Randy says, "Oh really, Alicia?"
Me too.
A good time.
Great 90s
just
reference.
some random trivium.
Wow.
Some random trivium from you. The cast and crew got t-shirts that said "I survived scene 118," which was like referencing the whole end sequence party. It was a 42-minute scene and it took 21 days to film, and I guess they all like got really tired of it by the end, so they got t-shirts made that said "I survived scene 118."
That's a good screenshot.
In the credits of this movie, which I checked my DVD copy to make sure that this fact was real because I didn't remember seeing it in real time before, but at the end of the credits, there's like a special thanks section, and it says "no thanks whatsoever," and then you can look it up if you want to. I won't say the real school's name, but essentially they had planned to film at a specific high school, and they had like gotten approved to do so, and it was almost time to film. And then the school board like read the script and was like, "We do not want you filming at our school. This is too violent." And so then they like, I don't know if shooting got delayed, but they had to find a new location, and it was a whole big thing. But Wes Craven put in the end credits, "No thanks whatsoever" to the board of this school, and just called them out, which I think is really wild. And when I read the trivia fact, I was like, that's not in there, is it? And then I took out my DVD copy and found it.
That school's dumb.
The use of caller ID increased more than threefold after the film's release. This movie made people want to have caller ID, which is fair.
Yeah. I'm surprised it was this movie and not When a Stranger Calls, but okay.
And this movie is like supposed to be tied to murders in Gainesville by someone called the Gainesville Ripper. Mm-hmm. And so I did look up that story, and like there's no phone call aspect to it. It's just a true crime real event that happened that was somebody breaking into houses and killing teenagers, and it was like partially the inspiration for just like what got the writer to sit down and write the movie of Scream. But it's not like that similar to anything that happens in the movie, but it is connected, so it's worth a read if you're into true crime. It's like an interesting tale, but yeah, and that's what I have.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Good night.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Watch Scream if you haven't seen it. Watch Scary Movie if you haven't seen it. Again, most of these trivia facts I got from the International Movie Database, imdb.com. Also looked up some stuff on the good old Wikipedia.
All right. That's it.
Toodles.
Cut.
If we were a movie, you'd be the right guy and I'd be the best friend that you